When it comes to education, I think that we should not fix the current education system. It was broken before AI came. Now that AI is here, we need a new paradigm, but the answer actually lies in going back to the past. Here's what I mean. When something begins to happen and you don't ask questions about the changes that might have been added onto that thing over time, the thing that began to happen would look very different, maybe in some ways, to what it looks like, let's say, 5 years from when you started. But in order to solve the problems related to the thing you've started, it might be a good idea to start asking one by one, what are the assumptions we have? And how can we begin to answer the question of, do we still need this particular assumption? I'm going to list a few examples as it relates to modern education, and you'll see some of the assumptions that I think are in question. The first one is, why do we teach, especially after sixth grade, from sixth to 12th grade, or primary six to SS3 in Nigeria? Why do we teach by grade level from sixth to 12th grade? Well, because that's the way it just is. Okay, well, here's the problem. About 200 years ago, if you were to put sixth graders in a room, 24 sixth graders in one room, 24 seventh graders in one room, and so on and so forth, you could be pretty much guaranteed that the knowledge that they received on Friday, as of the end of the week, and the knowledge on Monday would be such that most of those sixth graders will probably be in a similar place as they were on Friday as they were on Monday. There was no internet, there was no TV. I mean, the world was very different. Now, when sixth graders go home, some of them have the internet, some of them might not. Some of them have parents who are doctors. Some of them have parents who are lawyers. Some of them have 1,000 books in their houses. Some of them have two. We don't know the story of all of them. But on Monday morning, we show up and assume that everybody's where they were before they left. But that's not true. What if the kid whose dad is a doctor took him to the Science Museum over the weekend? Or the lawyer whose dad took him to the Washington, D.C., something in a monument in Washington, D.C., and they've gained a lot of knowledge, and there's so much they've learned, but we sit them down and say, okay, back to our textbooks, lesson 5. What if one of them's dad is a mathematician, and they finished chapter 5 over the weekend because they both love doing math? Sit down, everybody, chapter 5. That doesn't work. The current grade-based system doesn't work in an era of abundant information because some of it is tied to the interests that children might have. That's number one. Number two, why do we take 3 months off in America during the school year? You could literally have children learning algebra, mastering the concept. They're excited to learn. And June 1st comes around and we're like, yep, it's summer break. We'll see you in the end of August or September. But wait. I want to learn more. I want to understand. Now, if you had said that 200 years ago, too bad, right? Maybe there's no resources for you. But this is 2025, though, and 2026. Why does anybody's learning have to stop if they want to learn more of that thing? Now, I'm not saying people should be learning 7 days a week, year round, working hard, sweating, and all that. No, you can have breaks. You can have, short breaks here and there. But why this 3-month thing? Because it's actually detrimental to, okay, I'll tell you a true story in a second, but it's detrimental to learning an objective subject like mathematics when you take abrupt breaks for 3 months. And here's what's worse. A lot of kids are already struggling in math, and then you do that. Oh, come on. What are we doing in education? So here's the thing. I teach mathematics and physics. I am a physicist by training, medical physicist. I also have my degrees in chemistry, and then I've taught math for about 20 years. In the math lab, I've started tutoring centers, I've written math resources, all of that. Okay, do you know that when I go on vacation sometimes, or when I'm, let's say out of touch with teaching for a little bit, there are topics that I'm like, I need to refresh, I need to review that quickly. And this might not apply to every topic in every class, but my point is, it does happen. And I'm like, I love math. I do a lot of math. But if I don't do certain kinds of things in mathematics, I need a review. I'll give you a quick example. I was teaching someone how to convert from the standard form of an equation of a quadratic to the vertex form. And some of that stuff I haven't looked at in a long time. So I had to review quickly. Got it. No problem. We move on. But here's the problem, though. Our current education system might actually be part of the core problem. The thing students should come to get help is part of the thing that literally is letting them down and failing them in real time. We have to rethink the issue of grade levels. We have to rethink the issue of summer breaks. And number 3, this one is going to be controversial, but let me just share it. If we fix the summer break issue, whereby schools are now running year round, and people are going to say things like, well, but it's not available to every child in every city. You guys know, people know that libraries exist still, right? There's libraries, there's micro schools, there's homeschool strategies. There are ways to get around the problem if we need to get to the bottom of the issue. But let me talk about one more thing that is pretty radical, but I think is interesting. What about if our school years run January to December, just January to December with breaks in between? So for example, you run 8 weeks and you take a break. You run 8 weeks and you take a break. You run 8 weeks, you take a break. The break could be longer. You run 8 weeks, you take a break. You run 8 weeks, you take a break. But if you do that, and 2026, you have 5 terms of 8-week increments, which is another thing to keep in mind. In an era of abundant information, do we really need to be doing a course for a year? Especially if the course is something that to a student is like pointless, right? They might think it doesn't fit their vision and all of that. Let me give you an example. So if you look at Algebra 1, for example, schools do it in a year, right? Many students are not very good at algebra. Doing it for a year is not the issue. If you knew that you only had 8 weeks to master Algebra 1 and you got all the resources and support, you could do it. And I know this for a fact, right? I put together a model that allows students to complete Algebra 1, Algebra 2, Geometry, and Pre-Calc in a year. So I know I've run this scenario many times. I've shared it with families. There are some that want to try it out. Sometimes our problem is that our schools are not being efficient. I meet with students sometimes when they ask me math questions, and you ask them, hey, what are you working on in class? Oh, we had a day off today. We had this, we had that. I'm just like, do we really care? Like, do we really care about the education of children? If that is the attitude we're seeing, whereby people just like, yeah, we're just gonna take the whole day off today. We're gonna have this event, that event. And the problem is sometimes the students don't know the next thing they should be doing. That is another thing we need to fix. Nobody should be sitting down waiting for the next nugget. Okay, now you can go on and do polynomial addition. Okay, now you can go in and do polynomial subtraction. Like, this is the same math that we've done. Like, keep moving forward. That literally needs to be the motto for math classrooms. Keep moving forward. So let me bring it to this. Modern education is walking on thin ice. And the way forward is to rethink the foundation and a new structure. AI will frustrate any educator who is trying to add AI just on top of what they were doing before AI came. It's not going to work. It's just not going to work. If the desired outcome is to get students to think more critically and so on and so forth, and then you bring AI into the discussion and you're using the same type of structure before AI, it's not going to work because AI has all of the internet embedded into the system, right? So what is my recommendation? Well, part of my recommendation is let's look at classical education. Let's look at Charlotte Mason. Let's look at a different teleos, a different purpose for education. Not for only skill development, but more for human flourishing. And then whatever we do in how we allow that to happen in our education systems, it needs to be focused on things that make sense. And if something doesn't make sense, we need to throw it out the door. Like there's no time to use things that don't make sense in education. Summer break. Grade-based learning of mathematics. Like, we really have to pause and ask ourselves, what are we doing? And why are we doing what we're doing? So in conclusion, let me share briefly about one of the ways I'm trying to help with this. The first is I want to work with schools to rethink what they might be doing to be more like just honest with themselves in terms of, is what we're doing, does it make sense? And if it doesn't, how can we transition to a world in education that makes more sense? How can we help more children to flourish and be who God made them to be? How can we help people flourish? That needs to be part of the core. Most education doesn't do that. It leads to competition and comparisons. It leads to children thinking they're not good enough. It just, modern education today has become toxic. I used 1998 when Google came out, right? Because then the knowledge was now something you could get from, even if you were in one grade level, you could get the knowledge of the next grade level. You could do all of that. Modern education expired September 4th, 1998, but it has become toxic in 2025. An expired commodity might still be relevant for a short amount of time, but then it starts getting toxic. Modern education is actually toxic at this time. Do you know that there are some companies that probably would not want to hire you if you went to a traditional school? Here's what I mean. Except they undo the things you learned. I'll give you one practical example, which I used before, but I'm going to bring it to this context. Imagine somebody getting a job at a company. They finish a task that was assigned to them and they sit down and just wait. Oh, I'm done with the task. Okay, what do I do next? That is part of what we do in our education system. But that's not the kind of staff people need in the AI revolution, in some of these tech companies. People need to be taking initiative. They find a problem, they need to solve it. They need to keep moving forward. But our education system makes people so that they're dependent on, okay, teacher, I'm done with lesson 5. Should I do lesson 6? Almost this attitude of compliance. There's nothing wrong with respect. There's nothing wrong with diligence and discipline. No. What I'm getting at, though, is where is taking initiative in this equation? Where's creativity? Where's collaboration? Sometimes those very things are not part of how we teach in modern education. So what is the point of school after all, then, at this point? Is there a point? Well, Life Academy is the program that I'm starting. So it's going to support schools, but it's also going to have its own schools around the world. And what Life Academy is trying to do is to provide the best education the world has ever had. We want it available to the whole world. And it doesn't take a lot of money to do that, actually. The problem with education is not money, fundamentally. It's vision. People need to have a vision. So with Life Academy, we're training teachers and students to have a vision. When a student has a vision for their lives, then we want them to get mastery in learning the materials they need for their vision, and then do projects with what they've mastered. So vision, mastery, and then project-based learning. Those are the 3 tenets, all based on a biblical worldview. Because in the AI revolution, you have to answer the question, what is a human being? There are people right now, as you know, in the AI revolution working on, they're working on different aspects of artificial general intelligence, artificial super intelligence, they talk about, and so on and so forth. But it brings to question, what is a human being? And why are humans the way they are? This is going to be very critical in this AI age. So Life Academy, we're here to serve you, your school. If you want your school to think through things of why are we doing this, or how can we do this better? How can we make our maths? How can we help every student in our school do calculus for fun? That's part of what Life Academy does. And if you're homeschooled or you're looking to start a micro school and you're looking for a core curriculum, Life Academy is here to serve. We're based in Texas in the US, but then we have programs in Nigeria, and then starting a few in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Ghana. And we look forward to helping parents from all around the world to provide their children with a world-class education. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and have a blessed day. Subscribe for more. We'll be talking more about education in the AI age in the next few episodes here on our channel. Take care and have a blessed day.